What schlobbin' schlobos? We're looking at 200 plus one-hander swords from Vanilla WoW. Alright, we're starting off with an absolute classic, Dull Blade. This is the human warrior starting sword. Pretty much encapsulates what a sword should be. You know, proper size, not too small, not too skinny. It's got some nice shine to it on the blade, even though it's supposed to be dull. But we can see that dullness at the base of the blade. You can see it, how it's really dark and it's kind of rusty. And then next we got the Peon sword, which is the same kind of idea being portrayed where it's a worn sword, except this one's a lot more black, which looks a lot cooler in my opinion than the Dull Blade, but it's just a cool black sword with a wood grip. Raider short sword. This is the standard for a sword. Clean steel, wood grip. There's no design. There's nothing fancy going on. This is just a basic sword. This is the notch sword. You got green wrappings near the base of the blade. I guess I'll show off the handle here. We got some kind of scale pattern. I'm not going to show off... I'm not going to show off the handles of all the swords just because most of them are pretty basic, just wooden grips. And then an even better green sword, the Harpy Wing Clipper. This is a sick colored sword. I really like this sword. I think this green, it's really subtle. It's kind of a mossy green. So like the vibe I get from the sword is that like moss is growing on it. And you can kind of see some green go onto the blade, which gives that idea. Because you can still see the silver steel like on the cross guard. Next up we got a green Raider short sword. And compare this, let's compare with the other Raider short sword. You can see it's the same kind of coloring. The big difference is we get a leather grip. We also get a nice gold decorative detail on the pommel. Much more elegant, but it only gets better. This is the Briar Steel short sword. Another green wrapping around the hilt. Pretty standard blade with this kind of dark crossguard. We got Talon Strike. This sword is sick, dude. The design on this one, they went with a red and silver color scheme. Kind of got this red like bleeding through into the steel. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like a gem or just some kind of color. I have no idea what this is supposed to be, like a wrapping of sorts. And then on the crossguard, we have this interesting design. And we got an elegant short sword. And this is the first little gemstone that we've seen embedded into the crossguard. We'll see this on a lot of other swords as well in different colors. This one's silver. Maybe it's a piece of silver. And then the last sword of this model is going to be the Northern short sword. And this is my favorite color palette so far. It's a silver and blue. And we got a blue gemstone, which I imagine is a sapphire embedded near the base of the blade. I do want to show off the leather wrappings on this sword because look how much that color pops out, especially on the silver steel base of the sword. Blue is just really out there, and that's what I love about World of Warcraft was they weren't afraid to give these really crazy colors in their items and also in the game world. Okay, this is the next model, and I absolutely hate this model. You can see on this one, we don't get any shine at all on the blade, which makes sense for this specific sword because this is called the Dull Sword, but it doesn't make sense for all the other swords on this model. It looks like you're attacking people with a slab of rock. Like this is just stone. Also, I have no idea what these wrappings are around the base of the blade. It's just a weird design, and you can tell it's dull because it's brown and see the rust accumulating on the blade and also at the hilt of the sword. So let's go ahead and move on because the next one is the Dead Man's Blade, and it's exactly the same. Let's move on from that. Thistlewood Blade. At least this one's a really cool color. We get this nice green. It's a foresty sword. This is the Militia short sword, which uses the same color scheme as the Northern short sword. Frostmane, which is the exact same color scheme. So already we're reusing the same color scheme. You can see how much Blizzard really cared about this model. They knew it was stupid. Okay, and this is a Rodentia short sword, which is the same color scheme as the Peon sword. Got that kind of rusty dark color at the base of the blade. This is a Deathstalker short sword, which I will say this is a really cool color palette. We have these really dark blacks, and then we got the Bronze short sword, which is the exact same as the Dull Blade. Yes, they used the Dull Blade color scheme 3 different times. It doesn't even make sense to call this a bronze short sword. What part of it is bronze? This is rusty, and we'll take a look at the handle. That is not bronze. It's just rust on steel. Claystone short sword again, getting that bronze color scheme with the silver stud at the base of the blade. This should have been the bronze sword, honestly. It would have made sense to call this the bronze sword. Moving on to an actual cool sword model. This is the copper short sword. And the really interesting thing about this model is that the entire thing is shiny. I'm gonna go to black metal. We have not seen this color scheme before. And this one is super sick. You can see it more from this black into this ghostly green. This is the Night Watch short sword. And using that color scheme that we've talked about before with the silver and blue, and it does have that vibrant blue grip on it, and it's super shiny this time. And the iron patch blade is the exact same. The annealed blade, which has a gemstone as well, this time it's like a topaz. It has a vibrant red grip. The intrepid sword. This one's interesting. It kind of looks like a holy sword, except I'm not the biggest fan of this yellow coloring. You can kind of see, it's hard to see with how shiny it is, but if we turn against the sun, it's easier to see. You can kind of see this. I'm hesitant to call it gold because we see golden swords later, and this is like, it's too yellow in my opinion to be called gold. And then the last one we have is the Sword of Zeal, which is just pretty basic color scheme. This is the well-used sword. Simple sword. Not the biggest fan of the model. It's more skinny than the other swords. Thungrim's sword. This is the same as the worn sword. You got the rusty bits. So the next one is Haggard sword, which is better of a sword design. We got the gold decorative piece on the pommel again. Nice clean blade. Have the exact same stats. Kind of interesting because this is clearly like a worn blade. Why does it do the exact same damage as like this nice polished blade? I don't know. And then we have the heirloom sword, which also does the exact amount of damage, but it has that black worn color scheme that we've seen with the Heon sword, which is, I mean, I think it's signifying that it's like rusted to the extent that it's turned black. And it makes sense because it's like an heirloom sword. It's been passed down generations and generations, and it's also doing the same amount of damage as Haggard's and Thungrim. So why is everything doing the same amount of damage? And then we got the Umbral sword. Again, same amount of damage. And this one is just like a standard sword design. And then we got the Elunite sword, which uses that cool green color scheme that we've seen. Damn, those are bars. It's got that mossy green, which I really like. I really like this color, and I wish every sword was this color. That's not true. And then we got the brushwood blade design going on at the base of the blade. I don't know what that is, but it looks cool. And then I will show off the handle. Oh, and it goes on the back. I forgot it does that. That's really sick. We got this intricate design with the green and then the steel, green steel. And then last of this model, we have the Knightly Longsword, which this is sick. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the yellow. This is gold. This is a gold crossguard, and then you got gold going into the blade. Nice shine to it. Good vibes. Got this black wrapping with a silver steely color. Very upper class sword. All right, moving on to the next model. We got the short saber. A simple design here. A little nice brass looking crossguard and pommel with a wood grip and a very standard blade. Then we got the Rockjaw blade. And this one you can see the crudeness. What is, dude? You can see the crudeness of the blade. It kind of has that similar rusty coating that the worn sword has. And we got the Stone Splitter blade. Similar vibe. I mean, it's the same color scheme as the Peon, so we're getting these kind of worn swords because these are used by the Rockjaws, who aren't the most civilized beings. And we got a Cutlass, the exact same model as the short saber. And we got the Feral blade taking on this simple steel and wood grip design. Okay, next model, we got the Keen machete, which I personally hate this model because there's so many swords that weren't actually in the game that were using this exact same model. So I kept seeing this. This is the Bluegill, which has the exact same model. And then we have the Silithid Ripper, which is slightly different, but it is cool how wide the blade is, and you get this insane shine on it where it just kind of turns like pure white. It has a chance to cause a target to bleed. I just forgot about this one. This is the enchanted Asherite Felbane sword, which I think is the longest name for the one-handers, and this can weaken the servants of Raz. All right, moving on to the Heavy Marauder Scimitar. We got this brass hilt and just a nice curved blade. Next we got the Nordic Longshank. This is a different color scheme we've seen. It's a brown and steel. Then we got the Beaststalker blade, which this is looking pretty gold. This is the type of sword you'd find in a pirate treasure. We got the Phase blade, pretty standard scimitar, nothing too special, just a steel and brown grip. The Battlefell Saber. This is nice. This is probably the best one. It has kind of an Egyptian theme. It looks like a sapphire embedded at the base of the blade. And then this one we can definitely show off the handle because we got this cool intricate design of twisting gold mixed in with this royal blue. This is a interesting location I found. We're on top of this mossy roof on this castle in Redridge. And we're starting off with the Fine Scimitar. This is where things are going to get kind of confusing because there's a lot of misunderstanding of what a falchion is and what a scimitar is, but we'll get into it. So this is a fine scimitar, pretty fine looking, got a gold hilt and then a clean blade. Really nothing to complain about. This is just a fine sword. We got the Thief's Blade, which is really cool for rogues, of course, because we got this black handle. Kind of, it's a more edgy version of the fine scimitar. And then we got Scimitar of Tune, which I do believe this is. You can see the slightly different coloring going on. This is more darker. And that's where I would say, like, is this copper, bronze, or gold? I really don't know. I do not have the expertise to say. We're going to go on to the Ebon Scimitar, which is, yes, the exact same as the Thief's Blade. And then, okay, this is silly because this sword's called a falchion, but it's using the same model as the fine scimitar. It's actually exactly the same as the fine scimitar. So according to Blizzard, they are saying a falchion and a scimitar are exactly the same. So a scimitar is like this curved, and this looks like the sword we were just looking at, where it's got this curve. It's got this little like indent on the back. And see, it's got that indent on the back. This looks like a scimitar versus a falchion, which is more straight, and you can see the resemblance of the machete, which I don't really know if we have a sword that looks like a falchion. I think these are all supposed to be scimitars, and it gets really confusing that they're mixing scimitars and falchions together because growing up my entire life, I had issues distinguishing between the both, and this makes me feel very vindicated that it wasn't me, it was just game developers confusing everyone. And then, I don't think I covered this one. This is Furious Falchion. Okay, we're in Dustwallow because we got some spooky blades. This is Blade of the Wretched. Has a chance on hit to corrupt the target. We got this giant green gem at the base of the blade. Most of it is pretty shiny. Even the pommel itself has some shine. They actually separated the shininess. They didn't make the handle shiny like the copper sword where everything's shiny. And then you got this cool little runic pattern on the blade itself. And we'll see different colors as we move on. Like the next one, which is Fire Breather, which is the same thing except red because it's fire themed. And it has a chance to hurl a fiery ball. This is Crystal Sword. It has this light blue color scheme, which is different than the normal blue because we do have a normal blue one. But the next one is Haemio's Slayer, which is just green. It's the exact same as Blade of the Wretched, but it does have a different chance on hit, which is it can wound the target, causing them to bleed. And we got Frostguard. As you can see, this is a different blue than the Crystal Sword. It's a much more vibrant, deeper blue. And of course, you get this really sick frost effect twirling around the tip of the blade. And this has a chance to slow movement speed on hit. And you can turn dudes blue. I also give you the sick trail. So you just kind of look like a Counter-Strike Source surfer. And lastly, we have the Brutality Blade, which is a brown color scheme, which is really interesting. I don't know if they're trying to make this red, but to me, it's either like a rusty blood red or it's a brown. I feel like you can go with either one, but this is the Brutality Blade. Doesn't do anything. The next model is the Butcher's Slicer, which is the exact same design as the Azerite Felbane sword. And then we got Fiendish Machete, which is the exact same thing. How exciting. All right, next model, and we only have two for this, is the Pitted Defiance Short Sword, which is that typical sword color scheme we've seen with the wood and the steel. And it's just this short sword that kind of looks like a knife. And we also have a Blackwater Cutlass. This one actually has some silver etching design on the base of the blade. And the grip itself also has this really intricate design going on too, with these wavy patterns on this wood. Seems like someone carved into the wood to make this. All right, moving on to the rapiers. We got the Defias rapier. Very simple copper rapier or bronze, I don't know. But it's got a copper blade and a copper handguard. Electrocutioner leg has a chance to blast enemies with electricity. Next up is Tainted Pierce, which is a poison-based weapon. You can tell because it's green. And here we got some cool coloring on the underside of the handguard. But I feel like they could have made this blade green itself, because I'm looking at it, it doesn't seem like there's any green. All the green we have is on the wrappings, and this one has a chance to corrupt targets. Pretty cool effect with the skulls coming in. Next up, we got a personal favorite, Dazzling Mithril Rapier. Really cool name, and I really like this color scheme. We got the silver and purple, and then under you can see this really cool purple bit, which I think is a nice touch. Doesn't do anything, but it is dazzling. Look how dazzling it is. It's got a Speed Steel Rapier, which is the exact same as the dazzling. This kind of seems confusing because like this looks like a dazzling effect. Am I wrong? So I feel like this should have been called Dazzling Mithril Rapier. But I guess this is supposed to signify that it's fast. And then we got Blazing Rapier, which this is sick, dude. It's the same model as Electrocutioner leg, except it's on fire, which is just added steez. So it's cooler than that sword. Except this one has a chance to burn enemies instead of shock. So new model, we got the Enameled Broadsword. Pretty nice design. Really good sword model. Good size. Really thick cross guards on this one. It seems like it got a brass hilt, and then it has a blue kind of wooden grip. Very simple, elegant. Next up is the Militant Short Sword. This is what I would say is gold. We got the gold and blue, and then just simple, clean, letting the gold do the talking. No fancy designs. Just a nice gold sword. Next up is the long sword. This seems like a long sword. It's made out of steel. Nothing too fancy. Just a clean looking sword. All these swords so far have been like just really clean looking. Then we got the Lucian longsword, which is the exact same model as the longsword. And then we got the Phyto Blade. I am a big fan of the Phyto Blade. You have to have 100 herbalism be able to use this thing, and it's a nice mossy green, which makes sense because it's an herb blade. And this one has a chance to blast a target with nature damage, which I think is a really cool effect. And then another banger sword, the Black Knight, which uses that ghostly green and black color scheme we saw before. I've always been a fan of like Black Knight themed weaponry, like from Dark Souls, and this one has the added effect of sending a shadowy bolt. And the last one of this model is the Sage Blade, which this is one of my favorite one-handers. This is probably the best color scheme out of any of the swords. We have this insane, vibrant purple on the guard, and then it goes into this dark blue. And this is the only one-hander, I believe, to have a blue blade. Really cool looking, and it still has that nice shine, and it's on a good model. Look at the cross guard. Look at that design work. S-tier sword. Honestly, a lot of the wizard swords, because this one increases spell power, are just sick. All right, new model. We got the Shadow Fang, and this is a good edgy sword again for all those edgelords out there. It's kind of got, I want to say black, but it's almost like a purplish black, which makes sense. It's a shadowy sword, and we have those pointed cross guards again, giving it that spooky, scary look. Then we have the Dazzling Longsword, which is a golden sword. Seems like it has some topaz orangey gems embedded. We do get sparkly butterflies when we activate its on hit to decrease armor. Next up, we got the Protector Sword, which is the exact same art style, except it's an iron gray kind of hilt with green gems. And lastly, we have the Widow Blade, which I believe this kind of art style is called Techno Tribal. A lot of people actually get tattoos of this style. Probably the edgiest style we've seen so far, and we'll see this artwork on a lot of different swords. I think at least like 3 others. A weird design, but it really looks cool on swords. I think it's a terrible tattoo idea. I don't think anyone should get techno tribalism. New model here, it's kind of like a fisherman style sword. This is the Dragon Maul short sword, and on this model we got some nice shine to the blade, and then you got this hooky end. It just looks like something you would gut a fish with. And next up we have the Cursed Bellblade. Slightly different design. The Dragon Ball kind of has like a rusty look to it. The Cursed Bellblade looks like it's more polished and refined. And this one has a chance to reduce attack power on enemies. Really cool effect with like the crying skull. It's like sad it's losing power. Then lastly, we have the Dark Water Tower. It's the exact same model as the Dragon Ball Short Sword, except this one can send a shadowy bolt, which we've seen many times. This is probably the most popular effect I think we've seen. All right, new model, we got Sword of the Night Sky. I'm not the biggest fan of this model. I think the cross guards kind of look too bulky and weird, but I do like this color scheme with the pinkish purple. Next, we got the Hardened Iron Short Sword. Same thing, except now it's orange. Then we got the Dwarf Captain Sword. This is a cool color scheme. It's kind of like Bumblebee-ish, except it's like a bluish black and a golden yellow. We don't see this color scheme with any other sword. Then we got the Holy War Sword. This is nice. This is gold, and then we got this big old wooden grip. This is a simple design, but it works. Like, this is what I would want to bring on a Holy Crusade. We got this bright blade. It's kind of hard to get an angle where it's not just pure white, which I think is a nice effect for a Holy War Sword. Next, we got the Arbiter's Blade. Is this the exact same as, yeah, the exact same Sword of Night Sky? Exciting. Then we got Tidecrest Blade, Silver Sword, also with a blue grip. So we got that silver and blue, which is a good color combination. Kind of interesting design on the base of the blade. I don't think we don't really see that with the other swords. Kind of like this diamond shape. And the way the cross guards are made, it looks like kind of cool. It looks like gems, honestly, like diamonds sticking out. But if we compare it to this one, you can see it's just like, it's not as gem looking because you can't see the edges as clearly. Yeah, I feel like I knocked this model. Now that I'm looking at the sword skin, I'm really feeling these color designs. All of these are really interesting. And then lastly, we have Blackguard, which is another, yeah, I take it back. All right, the sword model could be a little better, but the designs they put on this model are insane. This is so sick. We have this like rusty black, and then we have these blood red runes on the blade. And then we got some swords that I don't think deserve any hype at all. This is the Slate Metal Cutlass. Sure. I mean, it's that typical sword color scheme we've seen before with the iron and the wood. And we got the Buzzsaw. It's like, okay, we at least got some like designs at the crossguard, and we also have this blue color wrappings. And then we got the Ulaman Seawar, which is the exact same thing except the color red. Now we're entering a potential goated sword model. This is the Skeletal Longsword, and I really like this model. Mainly because like the whole sword is shiny and I love it when it does that. It's just a good size. We got a nice size crossguard, a nice long blade, and we're starting off with a really cool color scheme. I think this might be the same as the Peon color scheme, except it just looks like way cooler on this one. This is another good black style sword. Edgy if you want to be a skeleton knight. Next up we got Noble's Brand, which, come on now. Silver version of the sword. Not only that, they put a green gem on the hilt, which also has a shiny effect. It's just a nice blade. We got this cool design work on the middle of the crossguard. Next up we got Lord Blackwood's Blade, which is the same thing except you get this shadow effect around the blade. This is a favorite effect of mine. I wish they put this shadow effect on the skeletal sword. I think that would have been perfect. It kind of looks a little weird, honestly, on this silver blade. I think it would have been better on a black blade. And lastly, we have the Azure Song Mage Blade, which, you know, mage sword, it's gonna be cool. Kind of have this like grass on the hilt and base of the blade, and then we got this blue magical smoke effect covering the blade itself. And then it kind of has these sapphires embedded on the hilt and the crossguard and the blade. Really clean sword. All right, we're just gonna say in Duskwood here, we're inside this little house with this skeletal raider here. Just kind of vibing out because we got some more spooky swords. This is the Dimensional Blade, and pretty lame for the name. I mean, Dimensional Blade, I feel like it should be spacey. Not the worst sword model. It has a really interesting hilt with this kind of like square. It's hollow. You put it on your keychain. Next up, we got Sword of Omen. This could have been the Dimensional Blade, but it also works for a Sword of Omen. Dark design at the base of the blade, And I will show off the hilt because we have these cool like red patches on the grip of the blade. You know, red and black is the pinnacle of edgy color combinations. Blade of Necromancy, which this is that techno tribal pattern that we've seen before, just on a different sword. Still looking good here. And then lastly, we have Skullforge Reaver, which insane purple fire effect. Not the biggest fan of the design going on the blade. Kind of looks a little weird. I feel like they could have done better, but I think the effect outshines the design. We have a chance on hit to drain the target for 2 shadow damage. Also, it sheaths on the back, which is sick. All right, this sword is the Mind Carver. Doesn't look like it really carves any minds, but a really interesting model. It's kind of like this thick rectangular shape blade that seems like, you know, you have these 2 points at the end for stabbing, and then you have the 2 sides for slashing. And it seems like you can also like drive in the hilt into someone's eyeball and also hit people with the crossguard. So a lot of sharp points to hit someone with. But it's outclassed by the Ebon Hilt of Marduk, which is just a way cooler color scheme of this deep purple. And this is, I really like the shine of this sword as well. Really cool blade here. And also has a chance to corrupt targets. Okay, unfortunately, going back to a boring sword models, this is a short sword, which has the same color scheme as the dull blade, because it's just a rusty sword. Then we have solid short blade. Now this is this cool color scheme. We got the gold and the blue grip. I hate this sword. It's just so tiny. It's like a tiny gnome sword. Daryl's short sword, which is just looks like a typical sword. Same color scheme as the Raiders. We can tell because it has that gold detail. Back to that Egyptian kind of scimitar look, we got Zorbin's Mega Slicer. And then we have Smote's Cutlass. This cool silver color scheme and red gemstone embedded at the base of the blade. Also, the crossguard on the sword is really interesting. You got like these spike balls. Next up, we got the Jade Serpent Blade, which this is a really cool mix of color. We got gold and then green. Looks like an emerald is the gemstone of choice. And then we got the classic Cruel Barb, which is the exact same as Smote's Cutlass. A pretty cool scimitar. Got this neat like hook feature at the end of the blade too, which that would hurt to just stab someone in the flesh and then like rip it out. All right, next up we got the Valiant Short Sword. Not the biggest fan of this model again, but we got this nice gold and blue color scheme. What's interesting about this one is we got these like stripes crossguard. Kind of makes it look a little tacky in my opinion. And it doesn't really do anything special. It's just another gold sword. I think it would have been cooler if it was just gold and actually didn't have any of the blue. Next up, we got Short Sword of Vengeance. This is an interesting design. We got a lot of colors. We got this kind of orange topaz gem at the base, and then we have this rusted red, and then you have a green outline on the pommel, and the grip is this crazy looking green and gold and red, and it has a really cool effect where it has a chance on hit to smite enemies with holy damage. You know, considering this sword has a chance to cast Holy Smite, it's weird that they went with this sword for that when it would have made a lot more sense for the Holy War Sword to have the ability to smite instead of this red sword. It also would have made more sense that they just made it all gold. I'm not really sure why they decided to make a sword of these colors be able to cast smite. It just doesn't look like a holy sword to me. But moving on, we have Scorpion Sting, which is... we've seen this before. This is the Peon Sword color scheme, the all black. This sword has a chance on hit to poison a target. And then we got the Sword of Corruption, which does have some green in it. Would have made more sense if it was a little darker. I'm just hating on all these swords, my bad. But this has a chance to corrupt targets. Lastly, we have the Inventor's Focal Sword, which has this, I want to say kind of like wooden hilt. Honestly, a really cool design. It's like the bottom of the blade is made out of wood, but then it has like this blue parts, which given that it's a inventor's sword and it's using technology as a part of it, we can assume these aren't like sapphires, but like energy crystals. Fortunately, it doesn't have any effect besides increasing your critical strike. It would have been cool if there's like an electric effect either through attacks or on the blade itself, but I really like the blue and brown. Also a really nice grip. Look at that. It's got like purple and blue. All right, now we're moving into the coolest model, the katanas. Actually, there's another katana model I like more than this, but this is the Wicked Mithril Blade. Edgy color scheme with the almost white silver mixed with black. We got the Silent Fang. This is even cooler. I mean, gold and brown katana there, and this has a chance to silence enemies. All right, then we have the Jinsu sword, simple black and green, and then we have the Rune sword, which again we're seeing that techno tribalism, except on a katana. Starting off with this new sword model, we got Mercenary Blade, and I really like this sword. It has this really cool red coloring, not only on the hilt but also on the blade. To me, this strikes Mercenary Blade. It's like it's been covered in blood. We got the Red Ridge Machete. Nothing too special, kind of the default sword color palette we've seen with the steel and wood. We got Twisted Saber, same blade, but we got this kind of bronze colored hilt. Can't really tell if that's bronze or just like wood. We have Viking sword. The interesting thing about this sword model, we'll see it with a couple of these other swords we're about to look at, is it kind of has two hilt patterns. You have the wood on top, and then the bottom half seems to be kind of like a bronze metal plated. Next we have Outlaw Saber, where we can see that two hilt design going on again. Bro, next we got the Wing Blade, which is that mossy green that I love. Myra's Song. This isn't really that special. I don't really like this grayish blue. It still has the two hilt pattern, kind of like a steel bottom and then green wrapping. We got Thrash Blade, which has a chance to proc a second attack. Okay, now we got a really cool sword model. It's kind of like this tribal giant knife thing. This is the Blood Letter Scalpel. We got this red outline around the blade. And then we have this woolish hilt with leather wrappings around it. And this one has a chance to cause bleeding on head. All right, next we have the Blade of Basilisk, which is the same thing except blue. And I like this one better because blue is a better color. And this sword has a chance to increase defense rating. And lastly, for this model, we have the Zulian Slicer, which this is my favorite version of this model because not only do we get the cool purple smoke effect, it is also teal colored, which is one of my favorite colors. Any sword that has like a glowing effect is immediately a sick sword. And this one has a chance to slice the enemy. It also serves as a skinning knife, giving you +10 skinning. And here we got the Lord General sword, which is a color scheme we've seen before with the gold and blue lines on the crossguard. Again, not the biggest fan of this design. This sword does have a chance on hit to increase attack power. Sword of Decay, which I really like designs on this sword. And it looks really nice with this silver blade. And this sword has a chance to reduce target strength. Next we got Fighter Broadsword. Ugh, we've seen this color scheme before, but it's a silver and kind of like a yellow. Blade of Reckoning. Oh, this is a good one. This is like an all gold sword. Nothing too complicated. Same. Oh, and we got the green hilt, which is a nice little detail. We got a broadsword, steel and blue grip. And we got Sword of Serenity, which is the exact same model. Moving on to the next model, Cho Rush's Blade. This is a cool sword design. It's like this giant knife that's bent, and it seems like the way they colored it, it makes it look like this is like a heated blade, and that's why it's bent. Really subtle designs on the edge of the blade. And it's interesting how big it is. You can kind of see the lack of detail in the crossguard and hilt. It looks a lot more blurry and pixely. And then we have another one. We have the Zealot Blade, which is the exact same model. Now we're getting to the good stuff. This is Rinataki's Soul Conduit, and this is Scope Potential Sword model. It's the only sword of the one-handers, at least, that has this like see-through effect. You can actually see through the sword because it's like made out of glass, and it's shaped like this blazing fire. And let's go ahead and go to the next one because they keep getting cool. We got the Fiery Retributor. It's the same thing except red, and it's on fire. Next, we got the Elemental Attuned Blade, which this is nice, dude. This purple coloring. And then look at the hilt. Look at the design. We got black gem on the pommel. The base of the blade has this nice design where they got some gems and silver. It just looks really good. As compared to like Soul Conduit, oh, it's the exact same. It's the exact same design, just different color. I just noticed it more with the elemental design. I really like these colors. I like the purple with this gray blue brown handle. And then lastly, we have the Phantom Blade, which this is the best one out of all of them. We have a purple and silver hilt on top of a teal glass flame. It's such a magical looking sword. It's my favorite out of all the glass swords that we've seen. And this one has a chance to decrease the armor of the target. This turns them like blue. So if you want to turn enemies blue. Okay, we have another tribal like sword. We got that wool beneath the iron wrappings on this one, and we have this really cool sea foam green color, and this sword is the Sword of Hammerfell. Really like this color. Sick design too. Just looks like a tribal kind of machete blade. Next we got Sangthrae's Deflector, which is the same exact thing, just a rusty coat, even though it is stronger. It's kind of disappointing. The color is not as cool. And then lastly, we have Sangthrae's The Protector, which is subtle color change, even more rusty. But this one has a really cool effect. It has a chance to shield the wielder on hit. Okay, now we have my favorite katana model. I like this one better than the other one just because it's shorter, it's more of a straight sword, and this is the Hanzo sword, which uses that nice black and gray color scheme, and it has a chance to wound the target. Next we have Reforged Blade of Heroes, and honestly, even though I like the color green, this isn't doing it for me. I mean, the only thing that's really green is the grip, and then it's mainly just a steel blade. I don't know why you would call this the Blade of Heroes. This is not something I would attribute to Heroic. I think it would have made more sense if they made it like a gold. Next we have Doomforge Straight Edge. This is cool. We have this purple handguard, this cool design on it, and then you got the typical black and silver color scheme. Next we got Junho's Mercy. This is nice. Deep black with a dark blue. Clean color choices, and this has a chance to blast a target. And lastly, we have coolest sounding katana, the Assassination Blade, and also the best design. I don't know why they chose to make an Assassination Blade green and blue, and it kind of has a greenish blade near the base and then transitions into a more shiny steel. And we gotta look at the grip of this one. These triangles, a really good choice of this vibrant green on this dark blue, but definitely my favorite katana is the Assassination Blade. Unfortunately, it doesn't really have any chance on hit effect. Here we got the War Blade of Hakari. Really cool design. It reminds me of Blade of the Wretched, except at least we get the purple flame effect. Next one we got Bloodlord's Defender. Okay, I put these together. These are not the same sword. I just thought they looked really similar, but they are slightly different. This one has fire. Okay, now we got some big swords coming out. This is Lincoln's Sword of Mastery. We're bringing back that nice green gem pommel. A really cool sword because it's really shiny. We've got the shiny cross guard. It's also just huge, and you get this subtle light blue smoke effect on your sword. It's always appreciated. This is a sword that would make sense to have as a back sheath animation, but it doesn't. And that's a chance on hit to blast enemies with nature damage. All right, and then the next sword is Dragon's Call. We return to the techno tribal pattern, except this time it's green, and I really like the green. This sword has one of my favorite chance on hit effects. You get this chance to spawn this little green dragon guy that fires some goop at your enemies. Didn't know this was in the game, but it's one of my favorite effects. We got Rune Sword of the Red, and if you want to talk edgy, we're reaching the pinnacle of edginess. Insane sword size. The crossguards themselves are like miniature swords, and the design is just wild. I'm not sure how I feel about the color choices. We have the silver and black, which is fine, but then we just have this random teal for the middle of the blade, which to me kind of looks weird. And then you add on the fact that the whole thing is just on fire, and you get this amalgamation of a sword that just has a little too much going on for me. Next up, we have Ravenholt. What the f? And then we have Chromatically Tempered Sword, which does more damage, and it's the exact same thing, except it's not on fire, so that's just an L. Also, while I'm here, I'm just going to mention this sword. This is Ravenholt Slicer. It's another green techno-tribal sword. I don't think I could find any sword matching this model. We're back in Dustwood, and this time we have probably one of the coolest edgy swords. This is Ravencrest Legacy. It's a giant dragon head with a blade coming out of its mouth. The whole thing is kind of gold. I say kind of because it kind of has like a green tint to it, but the stuff on the blade is definitely gold, and you have this like really bright red ruby gems for eyepieces, and also on the blade itself. It's kind of too big, and you have to stab through your gut with one of the horns. So that's an unfortunate reality of owning a dragon sword. We also have Maladaf Rune Blade of the Black Flight, which is the exact same model. A bit disappointing. And then we have Nightmare Blade, which I think the Nightmare Blade is the coolest one. They made the dragon skull bone colored, and then it has this like ghostly pale blue gems for eyes. It might not even be gems, just might be like a spirit trapped inside there. And then you have this much darker blade, and they kept the red ruby, which looks really sick on the grayness of the sword. Really cool sword. One of my favorites. A huge goat potential on this one. And look, you got the scaly grip. All right, we're in the final stretcher, only a few more swords, and with this model we have the Kroll Blade. Really cool model design. It's just a giant machete, but something I really like is how they have this reflective spherical blue pommel. Next up we have the Blood Collar, which is the same thing, just cooler because it has a green fire effect. So we have a really cool sword. This is the Grand Marshal Swiftblade. I believe it's a PvP sword. It's a giant shiny golden sword, and then the coolest feature that I like about it is we have these gemstones, probably amethyst, planted in 3 different areas, and it's a massive sword. And then we have the Grand Marshal's Longsword, which is the same thing except blue. And we got some sapphires. I really like the gold crossguard. It's a really nice shininess for a gold crossguard. We usually see gold not having any shine to it, so this is a nice change. This is Dalrin's Sacred Charge, gold detail on the blade. You can either slice them with the sharp end or just whack them with 3 pointed spikes. Cool color scheme. We got this like purple and gold going on, and the blade itself has some purple. And so we have Viscag Bloodletter. I mean, look at this. We have this, I mean, it's not really, it's like dark, but also shiny blue gem in the center. And then you have this blood on the blade. And this one has a chance to deliver a fatal wound for 240 damage. This is the final set of one-handers. These are all weapons that had unique models. First one is Butcher Curved Blade that just has this giant spike at the bottom. Really shiny. We have the Vanquisher Sword. Kind of gives me like stained glass church. Not really a big fan of the colors. The red is so dark that you can't even really tell it's red. Then we got Wraithblade, another wizard sword that increases your spell power. This sword is sick. Not only do we have the purple smoke and we got the rune kind of carvings going on in the blade, but the rest of the blade is not made out of steel, but it's this like ancient wood. And you can see there's a purple gem embedded inside the wood that I would guess is giving it its magical purple flame abilities. A nice kind of like evil nature themed wizard sword. Then we got Sharpened Slithered Femur, very Monster Hunter-esque. Not the biggest fan of this blade, unless you like bugs. And I'm not a hater on bug swords, all right? It doesn't really speak sword to me. It's kind of more like a mace. Okay, and then we got Serpent Slicer. This is a really interesting sword, very akin to a machete. What I really like about this blade is it has a pure wooden grip with no steel or metal. It's just a stick. And good shine on this blade. And this one has a chance to poison targets on hit. This is the Ogre Pocket Knife, which is just a normal knife for a human. So that's funny. We got Blood Razor, which is an executioner style looking sword. And it's using that same design from the Vanquisher sword that I'm not the biggest fan of, giving me like stained glass window. I think it looks a little better on this sword just because it's got that cool rectangular blade, and I just think the sword looks cooler than the other one. And it has a chance to wound targets. Okay, this sword probably has the highest scope potential. This is a personal favorite of mine. This is a Widow's Remorse. I love this design. We got this gold etching in the middle of the blade, and it's a gold mixed with this bony white, and the bone morphs into a blade. And then just to top everything off, not only just a skull, but they gave it green spooky ghost eyes, which looks so cool, dude. It's just really cool colors, and I really like this design. This might be my favorite sword. Next up we got Argent Avenger. I mean, this is just a lightsaber. You really can't hate on it. It's a blue lightsaber in a WoW style. It looks sick. It would have been cool if when you sheath it, like turns off, because because I feel like this is insanely unsafe. Okay, this is where I lied. This is Ilbis, Blade of the Fallen Seraph, which is the exact same as the Wraith Blade. Moving on, we have Dark Iron Reaver, kind of similar to that fish sword, the Dark Water Tower that we saw, except this one has red runes carved on the blade, and also has like a brass knuckle feature where you can punch people. And now we're getting some heavy hitters. This is Kel Sarar. Really clean design. This one's actually growing on me now that I've looked through all the swords really quickly back to back. Almost glowy blue rune carving in the middle of the blade. And we have this sick, of course, green flame covering the blade itself. Dude, get out of here. Really good color choices with the dark blue and gold. You got like this big blue gem in the center of the crossguard. Kel Sarar has a chance to grant the wielder 20 defense rating on hit. This is the Cold Forged Blade. Looks more like a knife to me. You have this weird twisted blade and you have these like heavily riveted. Next up we got the Hungering Cold, which is honestly just discount Frostmourne teaser trailer. We have a skull and then a blade coming out of his mouth, and then you have these like 3 spikes on each side with rune carvings on the middle. The blue they chose is also really nice. I really like the vibrant blue gem on the pommel. The eyes could have been more glowy. I wish they were kind of the same glowiness that we saw with Widow's Remorse. And also the effect on the blade itself is really subtle. You can barely see it, but it looks like little frost flakes. Really subtle. You can't like see it at all when you start to zoom out. And then we got another red lightsaber. I feel like they did this for the Sith and the Jedi. This is Tibu's Blazing Longsword, and it has a chance to blast targets. Next up we got Ancient Karaji Ripper, which is another bug sword. This one is actually a lot cooler in my opinion. I really like the green part at the end. It looks like it's supposed to be kind of jelly-like if you touched it. Maybe you could like pop it. It kind of gives me the vibe that's like it's an eyeball. But again, I feel like they could have made these more sword-like instead of just putting spikes on the edges. That doesn't give me sword vibes. It gives me like it's a mace. But yeah, bug sword. You can see all the bug parts on it. It's for bugs. If you like bugs, then you should get a bug sword. Another go potential sword is Gressel, Dawn of Ruin. This is the only sword with this cool animation feature, almost like it's trying to speak to you. You also have these cool carvings on the blade itself. It's just a nice purple sword. And last but not least, we have Thunder Fury. First of all, this shouldn't be a one-hander. Alright, this is way too big, but that's besides the point. Second of all, and I might get some flack for this, I think the sword design for a legendary could have been better. The lightning feature is cool looking. The hilt is rather boring. We just have like bones sticking out of this metal pipe. We do get the back sheath animation, which does get some aura for sure. Now, I will be honest, the effects themselves are insane. I mean, you can just blast things, summon entire tornadoes. We gotta do some... What the hell is going on, dude? Alright, we gotta do some honorable mentions because some swords. This is the Blade of Eternal Justice. It can only be worn by paladins. And lo and behold, it's another bug sword. This sword actually pisses me off. I like the sack on the end and you just like whack people with a bug sack. That's cool. The rest of the design, this knight's walking in the... right in my shot. The rest of the sword is just... holy shit. The rest of the sword design... not a big fan. Why can only a paladin use this? I don't understand. And why is this called the Blade of Eternal Justice? It's a bug blade. Blade of Vaulted Secrets, it's the exact same thing. It's another bug blade. So WoW is also implying that bugs hold secrets that have been vaulted for centuries and that they're also a symbol of eternal justice. I don't know. I think that's silly. Lastly, I want to show off Dalaran's Sacred Charge and Dalaran's Tribal Guardian on a rogue because you can wield both of these. And they look pretty cool. And I don't know if I showed off the Tribal Guardian. I'm pretty sure I didn't because you can only hold this in the offhand. But it's this cool. It's got this like silver and shiny red going on. Pretty cool. And it looks really sick when you're dual wielding.